Hey, what is up everyone? So with Season 17 coming to an end, there was something interesting that Rare did and added to the game that they didn't really tell anyone about, and we just kind of discovered it on our own. And this involves a new commendation that was added in the last monthly update for Season 17, which is called the Clandestine Contact commendation, which is one of the last commendations for Smugglers Tides. And this will actually send you on basically a little side adventure to find out who is this mysterious client of the Smugglers League. Now, this is something that they've kind of been building up over the course of the season. Most of us already had a pretty good idea of who this is going to be way before this happened, but for this video, I want to not give you any spoilers in case you want to, discover this on your own. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over how you actually complete and get through this part, and then I'll give you a spoiler warning before I show off what the actual mysterious client is and go into details about that. So in order to complete this commendation, you have to do a lot of things first beforehand. So before you can complete this commendation, you need to basically complete most of, if not all of the other Smuggler League commendations that are available. Essentially what you need is to be able to unlock all the clothing items for the Smugglers League, as well as the Fox of Guild trinket, Current of Darkness trinket, Steel of the Waves trinket, Wolf of Strength trinket, and the Fabled 4 trinket. Now, in order to get those trinkets, you're going to need to get all those different books out on the seas. So that can take a little bit of time because it's a lot of RNG. So that might be a little bit of a struggle, but it's definitely worth it, I think, to get it, to kind of see this little bit of lore that's happening. And there's a secret reward that we'll talk about later. So let's jump ahead a little bit. Go ahead and purchase all of these items from the different outpost shops, and then go ahead and equip all of the clothing items for the Smugglers League. Along with the clothing items and the tattoo, you also need to make sure that you equip the Super Smuggler title. Once you have all that equipped, go ahead to Crescent Isle and speak with Low-tide Lottie. When you get there and you talk to her, she'll have a new prompt for you to respond to, and it will say, "Would you say I'm trusted now that I look the part with the smuggler's uniform and the title of Super Smuggler?" And then she's going to go through some of the dialogue with that, and I'll go ahead and play that here for you.
Nah, I would! You've proven yourself to be quite resourceful and Tell you what, I was going to ask Solomon, but he's got his hands full at the moment. Busy man. We've got a big client. We've been doing some bits and bobs for him. You might even have been helping us out with them. I want you to go and introduce yourself to this client, but proving yourself to them won't be straightforward. They're pretty cagey. Suspicious, like, yeah. Head to Wanders Refuge and look for one of our hideouts there. And make sure you look the part, or they'll never let you in.
So like you heard in that, she's sending you over to Wanders Refuge, and this is where we've seen for the cinematic trailer for Season 17 and just, other stuff that's been in the past. This is going to be a very special location for like Sea of Thieves lore, and somewhere that if you've been playing a long time, you've probably been here at least once. But if you're new, what you want to do is head to Wanders Refuge, and in the middle of the island, at the very center basically, there's a long, big tunnel that runs through the bottom layer of the middle of the island. One easy way to help navigate you is if you go into the tunnel, if you're facing northwest, which is in the direction of Port Merrick, you're going to be turning to your left and going southwest into this little crack where it leads you into the secret hideout. Now, once you're in here, you have to solve a little bit of a puzzle, but in case you don't want to figure out the puzzle on your own, I'm going to go ahead and go through it, but this is kind of your spoiler warning in terms of the puzzle side of things. So once you get inside, head over to the door that's in the back of the room and look to the left of you where you'll be able to place a trinket on the wall. You want to place the Fabled 4 trinket, which is one of the paintings with all 4 of the ships on it. Once you do that, you'll be able to head over to the table to your right of the door, and you'll be able to look at a map table where it will allow you to interact with it. So what you need to do here is you need to put each of those different ship trinkets that we talked about earlier into the correct spots. Now these are based on the Smuggler Chronicles, so those booklets that you read. If you remember what happened in each of those, then you'll be able to figure out this puzzle, but if not, we're going to go ahead and go through it. So you can just follow along with me. The first one we're putting is the Fox of Guild, which is kind of like the reddish ship on the southwest side of the map. Then we have the Wolf with the Strength trinket, which is kind of the white-ish ship on the southeast side of the map. Then we're heading up to the northeast side for the Current of Darkness trinket, which is the black ship. And then we have the Steel of Waves trinket, which is going to be on the northwest side of the map, which is the blue trinket. If you placed everything in the correct spots, then you'll see the door pop open, and you'll be able to walk right in. Now, this is your big spoiler warning if you don't want to be spoiled about what actually happens when you go and meet the client, but this ends like basically all the how-to stuff with this part of the video. So once you head inside, you'll find the infamous Duke standing there in the cave. And I think many of us knew that he was coming back and that, the secret client for the smugglers was the Dark Brethren, but we're going to go ahead and play and listen to this little cinematic. You also see the reward that pops up for actually talking to him and completing all of these little side mission stuff. And then maybe we'll get a little bit further in the details about what does this actually mean for the rest of the Sea of Thieves story.
You probably thought the Warsmith herself was going to be back here. Ha! No, it's just this good old bilge rat. Look, friend, you know what us bilge rats are most skilled at? Well, fleeing a sinking ship when the water rises. The Brethren see it. This pirate's life has changed too much. How can we have freedom if we're trapped in an endless battle between a king and a lord? Where is the freedom to choose if the ferryman just brings you back? And what if he decides not to? Ever thought about that? What if the pirate lord cuts a deal so only his loyal followers can return? That's not freedom, don't you see? I need you to have some vision. Davy Jones and the Siren Queen, united in their sorrow, have paid the price for challenging the order of things. Seems like if you think too differently around here and have freedom in your heart, you're cast out. My time in the Sea of the Damned has been illuminating. We discovered that not all the so-called ancients were as pure and good as claimed. A whole swathe of them were imprisoned just for thinking differently, each incarcerated in a different way. The pillars were the locks that held the bodies of those who followed the spider, the enchanting widow, forever entombed, while their minds are held in a special prison of the ancients' making, what Flameheart refers to as his oracle. It's an orb of trapped souls. They wanted to use the power of the Sea of the Damned, here, in the Sea of Thieves. And for that, they were banished. We're the same, us and them. Exiled and shunned just for daring to want something different from the ruling elite. No matter whether it's Flameheart or the Pirate Lord, they both want the same thing. But not us. They call us the Dark Brethren, but we're the true pirates around here. For what Flameheart does not know is that the army of the banished lies elsewhere. Flameheart thinks he's got the key to the wisdom of the ancients. He's sorely mistaken. Pretty soon he'll find that out for himself. His orb might well be whispering to him, but is everything it says true? I'll tell you the truth, though. Through the power of these banished dark ancients, we will bring about a new Sea of Thieves. No rulers, no rules, no edicts, no lords or kings. Freedom, a fresh sea wind, and digging into secrets, finding answers to the question of why. Why? Come back and see me again, smuggler. The Dark Brethren will have more work for you.
So first off, I'll say that I really just love that they're doing this in general. I love these like smaller little things that they do in the game, and it feels like they haven't really done a lot of it over the last like year or so, but this reminds me a lot of like when we had the DeMarco mystery a few years ago, and we had the whole like little cinematic with the Pirate Lord and the Siren Queen. That was all really cool. I really enjoyed that. And this was just a really fun experience. I like that it's like an actual like cinematic of him actually talking to us. It's not us just going through, voice prompts and button prompts and stuff. And I think some of the stuff is really interesting. I think we've been talking for a while now that the Dark Brethren was going to be this growing presence as like kind of like a third party that's kind of against both sides of this war, which is what he talks about in this, where we have like between Flameheart and the Pirate Lord, and now we have like a third party coming in. And this is something that I'm pretty excited about because I think potentially the gameplay implications of the Dark Brethren could be really cool if we bring this a little bit further on. But obviously a lot of this is trying to set up Season 18. So you hear about these ancients that were like disagreeing with the other ancients, so they were banished, which explains the banished ancients that we're having coming in Season 18. I will say that, The one downside of having the Insider program is that we all knew about what Season 18 was going to be. We all knew about the Banished Ancients coming and all that kind of stuff. It would have been really cool reveal on build up if we knew nothing about that and all we knew is what Duke said, and then, a couple weeks later the Banished Ancients appear in game. Obviously there's not much we can do about that. NDA lifted for insiders. Everyone's going to be talking about the Insider program even if you try to avoid it. And I'm not really saying that there's anything wrong with the Insider program. I'm just saying that this would have been a really cool reveal from Duke and like a really cool build up and tease for what's coming in Season 18, but this also could have implications for Season 19 and 20 after we get past this next season, and I'm very curious to see how big of a force the Dark Brethren becomes. Maybe we'll see the return of Davy Jones. I thought it was kind of interesting that they brought up Davy Jones again, because it's been a while since anyone's even talked about him in relation to like what happened with the Pirate's Life Tall Tales. I also really like the return of the Oracle from the past Festival of Giving events where they used to do like those 24-hour live streams with the orb, giving like little hints and teasers of what's going to come to the future of the game. They didn't have anything like that last year, which was very disappointing to me, but with this mention of the Oracle, maybe we'll see the return of it when Christmas comes around this year. I also think it's interesting the implication that the orb, the Oracle, might be lying to Flameheart and using it for its own bidding. That's a pretty interesting concept, and I'm curious to see how that plays out in the future. But overall, I think that kind of covers my thoughts on what Duke had to say. I think it was a pretty cool little cinematic that we got here, and it teases some interesting things for the future. I am really hoping that we see the Dark Brethren become a bigger presence in the game, and I would like to see something that kind of disrupts the whole like choosing between the Outposts and the Reapers, because I feel like that's been kind of the status quo in the game for a long time in terms of like the world. And some people might not care for the lore too much in the game, they're just there for the gameplay, but the lore and the storyline for Sea of Thieves heavily impacts what kind of gameplay we get. So I'm very curious if maybe the Dark Brethren comes in and they do, get some traction with some of their stuff that they're trying to do, what they're talking about in this, if that will make interesting gameplay changes in terms of breaking us away from maybe like the Outpost selling or the Reaper selling to something else. I'll probably have more to say on this in the future once I get a little bit more time to think about this some more, and we can talk a little bit more about how the smugglers fit into all of this just in general. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think about all this? What do you think about Duke's return? Are you excited about it? Are you kind of ambivalent about it? Or do you not like the way that the story is heading? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, but if you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you have to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.